Hey guys, it's Little Man Jose and welcome back to another review for the Half-Life Marathon. Today I'm going to be reviewing Half-Life 2. If you thought that people loved Half-Life 1, oh my god, wait till I tell you about this game. This is known as one of the greatest video games of all time. People, to this day, have been anticipating for a sequel since 2004. While I thought Half-Life 1 was decent overall, I'm not gonna lie, if I was born in 1998, I would probably want a sequel to the game. And trust me, when people got it, the world went batshit insane. This game got so much credibility and praise from critics all over, saying it improves everything about the first game, and even adding some elements that are revolutionary to first-person shooters. It's so crazy to think that lightning struck twice for the series. That does not happen often. Now, what do I think about this game? Is it a masterpiece? Is it a decent game just like the first? Or is it an overrated piece of shit? Now, as I said in the Half-Life 1 review, I have some history with this game. As you might have guessed, I wasn't a big fan. I thought it was pretty shitty. The frame rate was dog shit. Switching weapons was so fucking slow and clunky. The resolution was garbage, so it made the game look slightly blurry. Please do not play any console ports for Half-Life 2. You are going to regret it. However, we are playing the PC version now. So, is the difference between the two so large that I've actually enjoyed it this time? Well, let's find out. By the way, before we start, the gameplay that I recorded for this was in 30 FPS. Until I found that I can change it to 60 on my recording software. The game was actually 60, but the recording was 30 FPS. So, I am sorry. I will be talking about the story from beginning to end. So, if you don't want any story spoilers, then go to this timestamp right here. Okay? 3, 2, 1, Plus de Hombre. Yeah, the game starts off with G-Man talking to you about the new job that he basically forced you to choose in the end of the first game. Check out the clip.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine. Not that I wish to imply you have been sleeping on the job. No one is more deserving of a rest, and all the effort in the world would have gone to waste until... well, let's just say your hour has come again. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
It certainly added some tension to the game, and it just fucking started! Now let me talk about the first chapter of this game. I love it! The story in the first game was so lackluster. It really did not have anything of real substance, like at all. Your mission from beginning to end was to get the fuck out of Black Mesa. But this game just knocks the story out of the park in just one chapter, which is the first chapter of the game. It really lets you know that this game has a giant story ahead of you. It shows you the aftermath of the Black Mesa incident from the first game, and it is heartbreaking. You get out of a train when you start, just like the first game, except it doesn't take 15 minutes, Half-Life. You get into a city called City 17 with this dude talking to you. His name is Dr. Breen. While you're walking, you see a bunch of tyranny and unlawful events happening around you as you're traversing this new city. The people around you actually say some very interesting things that add on to the lore and the world building. It makes you feel bad for the civilians who only want to live life, but the tyrannical government is stopping this. There's this woman whose husband was taken for questioning.
Overwatch stopped our train in the woods and took my husband for questioning. They said he'd be on the next train. I'm not sure when that was. They're being nice, though, letting me wait for him.
This guy creeped the fuck out of me and said something that I was not expecting.
Don't drink the water. They put something in it to make you forget. I don't even remember how I got here.
There's a dude who was talking to himself like a lunatic in an insane asylum.
You never see them go. They're always full. No one ever gets on, but they're always departing, but they never arrive. And the ones that do arrive, they never leave.
In the citadel so thoughtfully provided by our benefit.
They're always
I've been
departing,
proud
but they
to
never
call city.
There are these two guys who hate Dr. Breen.
Dr. Breen again? I was hoping I'd seen the last of him in City 14. I wouldn't say that too loud. This is his base of operations.
And now these guys are called Combine Soldiers. They are actually aliens who have successfully taken over Earth, and the government is just letting them do it because they're afraid. I've only played 4 minutes and I feel like a piece of shit. I was part of the people who let the experiment happen anyway, and it ruined the world because of it. I sometimes wonder how the main character feels, but Gordon is a silent protagonist, so it makes you, the player, feel like shit instead. While you're walking, a Combine soldier stops you and tells you to follow him. It turned out to be a dude called Barney, who Gordon apparently knows from Black Mesa. He's working with a scientist called Dr. Kleiner, and he knows who I am as well. You then get out of there and run into the soldier, who is a giant asshole. I threw it at him and he started chasing me, which scared me to shit, so I just started trying to outrun him. When you get outside, you hear some real bullshit coming out of Dr. Breen's mouth. He was saying a bunch of empty promises like immortality and that we should let the Combine do whatever they want so we can continue living as a species. We can't even talk to the people on the street.
We can't be seen talking to each other.
The Combine are even breaking into apartments for absolutely no reason.
This is how it always starts. First the building, then the whole block. And they have no reason to come to our place. Don't worry, they'll find one.
And you can feel the fear coming from the people who live in them.
I told you they'd be coming for us next.
Just this once, I hope you're wrong.
The Combine eventually break into the house you were in and kill the people you just met. You are then cornered and you think it's the end. Until...
Over here! Ha! No, you don't! Dr. Freeman, I presume.
This is Alex Vance, who is, without a doubt, my favorite character in the entire game. She can be mature when she wants to be, but she's also a little on the sassy and witty side. She's got the most playful side out of all the characters, and I love that about her.
Dr. Kleiner said you'd be coming this way. I don't think it occurred to him that you might not have a map.
And that's the end of the first chapter. Jesus Christ, the amount of lore, the amount of interesting characters and dialogue and events that you can't believe are happening before your very eyes are insane. This chapter makes you feel something while you're playing it. It makes you want to help the people in need. You want to defeat this unlawful government and bring freedom back into the world. Point Insertion is an amazing chapter and one of the greatest experiences I have ever played in a video game. In Chapter 2, Red Letter Day, we meet every single main character that will be helping me out on my journey. I really like the characters in this game, and there's only one character I don't really like, who is Judith Mossman, but I will talk about her later. For now, let's talk about this character, Barney. This chapter shows us a little more about him. He's basically the comical relief kind of character, which is not a bad thing, and he even made me chuckle a few times.
You gonna let Gordon throw the switch?
Gordon, go right ahead. Good job, Gordon. Throwing that switch and all. I can see your MIT education really pays for itself.
This line alone is the reason why he's fucking amazing. Dr. Kleiner is a quirky nerd who gets easily afraid. He's a decent character, but I think the most interesting thing about him is the fact that he has a head crab as a pet. I seriously think there's something wrong with this dude because he literally declawed a head crab and carries it around in his head. Eli is a dad kind of character. He has a really soft voice that matches his personality.
Let me get a look at you, man. My God, you haven't changed one iota. How do you do it?
He's just a kind soul to about everyone. He's also the dad of Alex, so why would I not love this man? Now I'm gonna give you guys some personal history about my life real quick. When I was little, I always loved watching Gary's mod videos. They were like the highlight of my day back then. And I always used to see these NPCs that I thought were just, you know, part of the game. And those characters are the ones from Half-Life 2. I guess you could say I felt some kind of nostalgia playing this game. I've always wanted to see these characters in an actual story. And, well, the game granted my wish. There's also the chapter where you get the hazard suit. And not gonna lie, got super excited when I saw it. And once again, the hazard suit gives you the most revolutionary thing ever. A HUD. You go into a teleporter which sends you everywhere. From the place where Eli is, to Dr. Breen's office, and then to this water where this fish almost kills you. Now you have to run to Eli's lab with your trusty crowbar like Barney gives you, and your adventure is set. The story kind of takes a back seat until Chapter 5, and I'll be talking about Chapter 3 and 4 from a gameplay point of view later on in the video. But something that I found really cool, which started with Chapter 3 and 4, is the Lambda Complex logo. Now, if you guys remember, in the first game, this logo belonged to a company. But now, whenever you see it, it's almost guaranteed that either a rebel is around the corner, or there are helpful supplies waiting for you, like medkits. I love this logo now. It's a symbol of hope. It's a symbol of freedom. A symbol that makes you feel safe. It's so crazy how the logo changed from the first to the second, but I love what they did with it. I even have it in my backyard. Another thing I love about these chapters, and about every chapter in general, is that you really see the carnage of the Combine. Innocent people die left and right around you on your journey, and it's sad as fuck. There are some that even beg for their life, saying that they didn't do anything wrong. It brings back that feeling of wanting to do something about it. Just like the rebels. They're risking their neck to save others who can't help themselves. I love the moral of this game. The message of taking down a tyrannical government and helping others in need. Also, quick talk. You guys remember these aliens, right? You know, the aliens I fucked up with my shotgun in the first game. Well, now they're helping us on the journey to freedom. I'm not exactly sure why they're helping us, but hey, they even learn how to speak.
The freemen will accept this weapon or suffer greatly on the road ahead.
They even have a name, Vortigons. It's nice to see that some aliens aren't really that bad, especially the species that I almost annihilated in the first game. Now in chapter 5, the story comes back with you finally making it to Eli's lab and looking at the things that he was up to when he got out of Black Mesa. Alex comes in and praises me for getting here. I love it when she does that. And she wants to show me something. While she's taking me, we went to see the entrance of this place and she doesn't seem to want to go there. It gives you this feeling of wanting to explore, but you just follow her anyway. She shows me this cool gun called the gravity gun. It's a cool gun that lets you send shit flying, and you play fetch with a robot dog called Dog. This dog is the cutest fucking thing in this entire game, and it shows that the game can have some lightheartedness in its otherwise tragic story about slavery. However, while you're playing fetch, the place is getting overrun by Combine, and while we were running away, I was like, what about Dog? But don't worry, he comes with us later on. Me and Alex are blocked from each other, and she told Dog to take me to Ravenholm, the forbidden place from earlier. Now Ravenholm is fucking scary. It's a scary dark horror cliche, but I really like it visually. In this chapter you meet an amazing character called Father Gregory. He is a very exaggerated maniac character, but he does it almost perfectly. I think he even has a personal connection with these zombies as he says things like this.
I remember your true face.
He also helps you out on your journey by occasionally shooting zombies and headcrabs that come your way. And later on, he's an AI that's walking with you. Father Gregory is just a cool character, but he doesn't come back after this chapter, which sucks loads. Also, quick note, when Father Gregory said bye to me, he left in the scariest way possible by going to the nearest fire and laughing like a psycho.
Farewell, brother. I fear I deliver you to a darker place. May the light of lights illuminate your path. Look to your own salvation.
Once you finally get out of Ravenholm, you get a message from Alex saying that Eli has been captured and taken to Nova Prospect. Apparently, it's a very high up the ass security prison, so that sounds like fun. Once you break into Nova Prospect and get rid of the Combine that are there, you meet up with Alex, who finds her dad and sends him to a teleporter. So now we gotta go there. However, along the way, we find out that Judith Mossman, the person who was working with Eli, is actually a spy for the Combine. This is the reason why I fucking hated Judith. She completely fucked our entire group, hoping that Dr. Brink can work something between them and they can all live happy lives. I don't know why she thought that, but whatever. We find Judith and Eli and we're ready to leave Dr. Kleiner's lab. Until Judith took off with Eli to God knows where. We then teleported to Dr. Kleiner's lab with Alex and the teleporter broke as we took off. This caused us to take a whole week to get to Dr. Kleiner's lab.
I think the teleport exploded just as we were porting out.
Indeed, it did. And the repercussions were felt far and wide, but that was over a week ago.
What do you mean? Gordon and I were just there a minute ago.
Fascinating.
That's shit I wasn't expecting. And because of what happened at Nova Prospect, we are now in war with the aliens, as they took that Nova Prospect thing as a way to begin the uprising. And let me tell you, the war has definitely started. The moment you go outside, you see a big ass alien shooting a blast at you and your teammates. A lot more innocents dying their journey than ever before. The innocents decided to join you this time, and trust me, they can die. It was so sad when I was going up these stairs and saw these people get demolished by the Combine. Now there's this thing that happens later on in the chapter that just fills my heart with joy and hope. This form of protest just ignites my flames for revolution and freedom. I love this scene. It's gotta be top 5 scenes in the whole game, period. Dog was also a very cool appearance, but he sacrifices himself so you can escape. And I honestly have no idea where he is now. He just kind of gets on a helicopter and then it crashes. Later on in the chapter, Alex helps you escape from the Combine, but she gets captured and tells you to find Barney.
No!
Also, as you are getting closer and closer to the Citadel, Breen keeps antagonizing you with his messages. This time, they are directed at you.
Do what is right, Dr. Freeman. Serve mankind.
We find Barney, and hey, we find Doug. And then shortly leave them because we're close to the Citadel. What I do love is that he said this, though.
And if you see Dr. Breen, tell him I said...
Now this place right here is really fucking creepy. I don't even know what it's called, but for a while you're traversing in this kind of coffin looking thing, and as you're moving in it, you can see a bunch of aliens, a lot of bottomless pits, and these things. I have no idea what this is, but it looks kind of like a human, but weird. It makes you think if these are humans that have been tested on so much that they are now slaves or something. And you got your guns taken away from you. Literally, all of it. The SMG, the pistol, the crossbow, the shotgun, the RPG, all of it gets taken away and shortly destroyed. The only thing that's left is your gravity gun, which I'll be talking more in the gameplay section. Breen is still antagonizing you, as always.
Well, Dr. Freeman, under other circumstances, I'd like to think we might have been able to work together in an atmosphere of mutual trust and respect. Certainly, judging from your brief tenure at Black Mesa while I was its administrator, you showed every promise of becoming a valuable and productive contributor to the scientific process. And yet, I'm not sure what spurred you to it. But there is really no place in this enterprise for a rogue physicist.
The coffin things even take you to the tippity top of the Citadel, and it is terrifying. You can even see the outside of some parts, and you are higher than a kite, and I ain't talking about weed. Now, before we talk about the ending, let me tell you about the G-Man sightings in the game. Just like the first game, there are some little secrets that you can see where G-Man is legit just watching you. I found this very unsettling in the first game, and I love trying to look for him. But in this game, I rarely found the guy. I found him about 4 times this whole adventure. The first time he was on a TV, which I was not expecting. Hell, I thought I was imagining it for a second. Then another time I saw him on this bridge. The third time was in the exact same chapter as the bridge one, where he was watching me from a place that you could actually go to. But once you go there, he's just gone, like he teleported or something. And the final time is one that really spooked the shit out of me. I saw him on this TV where it looked like he was in an elevator. And then I look back and there's an elevator with a suitcase in it. I was so scared that I literally looked around my own house just to make sure that fucking G-Man isn't watching me. But anyway, back to the story. Gordon Freeman finally makes it to the top of the Citadel, and Judith is there to greet you and take away your gravity gun. Fucking bitch. She takes us to Dr. Breen in the flesh, and this guy already has Eli in his hands. He tells Eli to tell the Liberation to stop fighting the Combine, but Eli won't do it, so Breen tries to persuade him by showing that he also captured Alex.
If you won't do the right thing for the good of all people, maybe you'll do it for one of them.
Alex, honey.
Dad. Gordon?
God damn you, Breen, you let her go.
That's all up to you, my old friend.
Alex spits on his face like the whore he is, and he almost backslapped her. He then says he's gonna take them to the Combine portal, which sounds like that Zen shit from Half-Life 1. Judith is trying to convince Breen to spare Eli, but he ain't having any of that shit, so Judith fucks Breen over and helps us out. Pretty shit time to do it, but thanks, I guess. Me and Alex are then chasing after Breen, where we see him talking to this alien that I think is the big boss of the alien world. He looks kind of like All For One from My Hero Academia, now that I think about it. We get to the top of the Citadel, where Breen is trying to escape by teleporting to another universe, but we foil his plans by destroying him and the teleporter.
Don't know what you'll unleash. You could bring down this whole citadel. Think, man. Think of the people below.
Yes!
No! You need me.
You did it! Come on, Gordon. We've got to get out of here. Maybe we still have...
Time, Dr. Freeman?
Yep, just like the first game, G-Man is giving you another endgame speech, and this is what he says.
Again, it seems as if you only just arrived. You've done a great deal in a small time span. You've done so well, in fact, that I've received some interesting offers for your services. Ordinarily, I wouldn't contemplate them, but these are extraordinary times. Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you, if and when your time comes round again. I do apologize for what must seem to you an arbitrary imposition, Dr. Freeman. I trust it will all make sense to you in the course of... well, I'm really not at liberty to say. In the meantime, this is where I get off.
While I love the ending of the first game, I was not expecting this ending at all. Like at all. The way it ended was so climatic, a true cliffhanger, and I want to see how this continues. The story in this game, guys, is on a completely different level from the first. We got actual characters that we give a shit about, dialogue that means a damn, and while there are recycled characters, they all say something interesting to the point where you want to speak to every character you come across. I never felt like that with the scientists in the first game. I love this story, and the way it tells the revolution and fight against the government type of story is powerful, and it does it perfectly. Now we are in the graphics section, and let me just say, holy maloney. The graphics in this game are downright amazing. This is a 2004 PC game. Look at this. This looks so real. The world is so immersive. It just brings you in without thinking, this guy's face is ugly as shit. Definitely an improvement by the fuckload compared to the first game. It's just so nice to look at. I mean, look at Alex's face. It looks so weirdly real, and she has real human facial animations. The first game didn't have that shit. They said we had fucking Kingdom Hearts over here. And Eli over here looks so real to me that I thought I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5 for a minute. The lighting is also incredible, especially with chapters like Ravenholm, with that dark, spooky atmosphere. The lighting definitely helped with the jump scares that they try to do with these fast zombies. I love it. So yeah, graphics are amazing. That's all that really needs to be said at this point. As for character designs, I think it suits the characters and the enemies. The humans have really nice clothing, especially characters like Alex and Breen, who will have the most iconic designs, maybe even in gaming history. Especially Breen. His design matches his character perfectly. When you look at him, you see a businessman. A man with the power to do anything he wants, because he's way higher on the level than you are. The enemies look really good as well. We have the Combine, which basically replaced the military from the first game. They have a mysterious look to them, while also looking dangerous and authoritative. The zombies look way more creepy than in the first game, especially because they are used in more dark settings, which makes them pop out even more. We also have the headcrabs from the first game, which look exactly the same, but less blocky in this new HD game. We also have fast zombies, which are just terrifying creatures. They aged more, and I think because of that, they are extremely fast. They look rotted and decayed, which gives them a more disturbing look. We even got black headcrabs, which I'll talk about later in the gameplay section. And finally, we have G-Man, the old blue-suited hombre who looks just as menacing and mysterious as he did in the first game, but now with a new coat of paint. However, his eyes are weird to me. I don't know, they just look kind of cockeyed, which gives him an even more vague and ambiguous look. Another cool thing about this game is that it changes the title screen depending on which chapter you're in. If you're a Nova Prospect, it shows you this. If you're an Anti-Citizen 1, it shows you this. This is cool, and I don't think much games did this at the time, or even now. Overall, the designs and graphics are a tremendous upgrade from the first game. The sound in this game is so good. The voice acting is just remarkable. Every character in this game has a voice that really matches their personality and adds to character building. Something that the first game couldn't do because they recycle characters over and over. The Combine soldiers make some really unsettling noises when they die, and it makes you feel good, but weirdly also remorseful. The headcrabs still have their creepy jumping screech, but the zombies are incredibly different from the first game. Another one of the reasons why I thought Ravenholm was so good with its horror was the sounds that the zombies made. In the first game, the zombies made regular zombie noises that you would find in literally any zombie movie and TV show in history. But in this game, they try a different, and in my opinion, better approach to the zombies. The zombies make a sound that sounds like they are in pain, like they're suffering. If you look up a video on YouTube, you can actually find that the zombies are saying, "Help me," if you reverse the audio. That is the scariest shit I have ever heard, and it really helps set the tone. Also, in a way, it lets you know the consciousness of the people who have turned are actually alive, forced to see the carnage that they are inflicting upon innocent people. It could make the sanest person go crazy. And now let's talk about the sound effects from the guns. And yep, they are great as well. They are an improvement from the first game. They got a crisper sound and more oomph to it, you know? Really makes you feel like you killed something. The only sound I don't like as much as the original is the shotgun. Nothing will ever beat that, baby. Everything else sounds extremely snappy though, especially guns like the pistol and the revolver. Now I'm going to talk about something that I didn't talk about at all in the last review, the soundtrack. The soundtrack in Half-Life 1 is pretty goddamn forgettable. I really did not feel like talking about it much. But in this game, the music is amazing. There isn't a lot of it, but when there is, it's usually something over the top and explosive. Music that makes you feel like a badass. And they use it in a lot of chapters where it's mostly action, like Root Canal, Water Hazard, Follow Freeman. I could go on and on. There was this part where you were running away from a chopper who's dropping bombs at you, and I swear the music was helping me. feel powerful, like I could do anything. The sound effects and soundtrack are truly something to behold and just add to how awesome this game really is. Now let's talk about controls. How does the game feel? Well, let's talk about the physics. Oh my god, finally! Walking doesn't feel like a slippery death trap. It actually feels like you're walking like a sober person, Gordon. And crouch jumping is always my friend. Now this game is weird. It's still a first-person shooter just like the first, but now it adds a lot of physics into the gameplay. You can now pick up random objects off the floor and throw or put them wherever you want. Fuck off, brain!
He's one of us.
I really like this. That adds even more depth to the gameplay, and especially to the puzzles. There are some puzzles that require you to use real-life common sense to progress. Like this part where you need to put these barrels under the ramp so it could go up and allow you to launch yourself to the other side. It's real good fun and feels rewarding to figure out. The game also introduced something new to the gameplay besides the physics. They added vehicles. There are two vehicles in this game, the airboat and the buggy. The airboat controls like a charm. I've never felt any vehicle in a PC game that felt as smooth as this airboat. The airboat controls natural, smooth, fluid, so much more. I actually hated the controls at first because the orange box version felt stiff, it felt garbage, felt uncontrollable. It felt plain wrong. Finally, a win for PC in vehicle controls. The buggy, however, is the stiffest piece of shit I have ever felt in my life. There is actually a turbo button now and it makes it go faster, but never fucking press that button. It will 100% drift by a complete fucking accident and you have to turn the car over to face forward. The orange box did a better job of controlling this thing for some ungodly reason, and I really liked the buggy in that version, so how did the PC do shitty? Even though the buggy sucked, I still like the idea of vehicles, and if they made more vehicles like the airboat, I would love them in future sequels. If they ever make a fucking third game. Now let's talk about aiming. Aiming in this game feels just as good, if not better, than the first game. I think there's a little aim assist added to the game. At least that's what it said when I picked easy mode again. And I like it. Aim assist has always been my friend on consoles, so it's nice they try to add even a little bit to the casual PC players such as myself. The guns in this game feel great to shoot. And guess what, guys? The crowbar is actually fucking useful against enemies. Thank you, Jesus, for making this thing even a little useful against the Combine. It takes 2 hits. 2 hits on easy mode for these Combine soldiers. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. That is an astronomical upgrade from the first game, where it felt like it took 100 hits to kill a zombie on easy mode. But now with this new physics style that the game is doing, the crowbar is even more useful in the world rather than in combat. I love this crowbar now, and I'm glad that Valve turned it into a more useful and formidable weapon. The guns that you have in this game are basically the same exact weapons from the first game, but now instead of an AR, you have an SMG. Not gonna lie, I kind of miss the AR because that range was just something. And the SMG is still decent even though the range is garbage. However, the pistol on easy mode, fantastic. In the first game, the pistol was really good. It shot slowly, almost as slow as the revolver, but in this game, you can put your trigger finger to the test. And with the aim assist, this pistol cannot be underestimated. The revolver is a beast against any enemies, literally pushing them back like a ragdoll. Basically, it's a more buffed up version of the one from the first game. Obviously, the RPG and crossbow come back, and they're the same as before, except looking way cleaner than the first, you know, for obvious reasons. Now, do you guys remember the blackhead crabs I was talking about earlier? Well, they are stupidly OP in this game. They are big as fuck, they move so fast that sometimes you miss your shots, and if they even scratch you, you are poisoned. Man, I thought the original head crabs were bad, but this is cancer. Now let's talk about the chapter, shall we? Chapter 1 and 2 are story chapters, so I won't really delve into them that much. Chapter 3 and 4 are mostly action chapters, and they are awesome. In Chapter 3, Root Canal, you have to escape the Combine and find the rebels, and it is exhilarating. You go through the sewers, there's a shit ton of swimming, but it is fun. And water hazard. Oh my god, I love water hazard. You ride the airboat for the entire chapter, and as I said before, it controls beautifully. But the shit that you do in this chapter, straight fire, really makes it what it is. There are some times where you have to stop and leave your boat because of a closed door that you need to open. These instances are fun, and they don't last an eternity. You even get the revolver later on, so that's a positive in and of itself. Sometimes my fucking boat goes crazy and I do shit like this. And the chapter ends with a sick boss fight against a chopper where you have to destroy its engines with this new gun that you get from this water gun. Believe it or not, I hated this chapter when I played on the orange box because, as I said, the gamepad controls did not work well with the airboat. Not even a little bit. Water hazard reminds me a lot of on a rail. Mostly because it's the same length and it's generally hated by the community, whereas I like it a ton. Ravenholm in a gameplay perspective is kind of boring. I don't like it from a gameplay perspective. I like it mostly from a lore and visual perspective. But it's definitely not one of my favorites in the game. You're basically killing zombies while Father Gregory is also helping you. So, But killing the zombies does feel good, and the platforming is decent, so I don't mind it. It's just a decent chapter to me. Now, Highway 17 is dog shit. As I expressed earlier, I hate the buggy controls. But besides the controls, this chapter doesn't even have anything going for it either. It's boring as fuck. There is nothing to look at. It's just grass and mountains everywhere you look, and tunnels for loading into a new area. This chapter sucks. The only thing I found slightly memorable about this chapter was the bridge. I hated it. I could not stop dying. It took me a while to finally get used to it. As you can see, I hit shift so many times that the sticky keys prompt just kind of stood there. But sand traps, the chapter after Highway 17, amazing. The antlions were mostly because of that. The antlions are these spider-like creatures that look like those weird aliens from Cloverfield, and they are ruthless. Look how you're introduced to them.
You there! Stop where you... Idiot! Walking on the sand brings antlions after you!
I didn't even mean to kill the fucking guy. If I just waited like he said, he would still be alive. The antlions make a great first impression, and they just get better as you go on. This Vortigaunt will give you this thing called a theropod, or a bug bait, and it lets you control what the antlions do. This feature, honestly, spectacular. It's straight up fun. You lead a whole army of these guys, and they wreak havoc on any combine that comes their way. The chapter finally ends with you breaking into Nova Prospekt. Now, Nova Prospekt is a really cool chapter, and goddamn is it terrifying. They were not kidding when they said that security was up the culo. This was the first time I got so low in health from the amount of shit they threw at me. But guess what? I'm not aggravated like surface tension. This time it was actually really fun, and I love the prison aesthetic. And the enemies aren't OP. Hell, the antlions from sand traps even come to help you, so you have a little bit of extra backup. I think this is great, so you don't feel like it's complete bullshit to go up against a lot of enemies. And if you don't like the antlions, then we got turrets. So yeah, Nova Prospekt was cool. Entangled is a chapter that kind of brings back some old Half-Life 1 shit that I actually really liked, like head crabs and dark vents. I didn't even think they were going to bring that back, but here we are. I like this chapter, but it can get a little too repetitive for my liking. There are a lot of times in this chapter where you stay in one location, take down a whole wave of combine until Alex gets to where you are because she's a hacker who can get you to the next location. This happens 3 times in the entire chapter, by the way. That's a little too overkill for me, but again, it was not so bad, so I don't mind it. Anti-Citizen 1 is a really cool action chapter. You don't do crazy shit that shouldn't be able to happen kind of stuff, but it still makes you feel good, you know? In the beginning, Dog literally fucks up anyone that touches you and throws a car at them. I love this machine. You got innocents that actually help you out, including normal people who are good shots, and even doctors who will heal you if you get hurt. It's sick that these people are helping you, and it makes you feel like even more of an asshole when one of those people died because you didn't help them or you weren't paying attention. And at the end, there's a huge wave of combine that you have to kill so Alex can do her thing. Hell, she can even die if you don't help her. This chapter was cool, and it's not too long, so it's replayable. Now, Follow Freeman is amazing. This is what I call an explosive chapter. And trust me, I mean that in a good way. The amount of shit that you do here is incredible, and honestly makes you think if Gordon Freeman is really a god. You break into a museum with Barney, destroy all the generators, destroy a helicopter on the roof of the museum, obliterate these big ass fucking aliens called Striders with your rocket launcher, go to a high ass roof while being chased by Striders, destroy even more Striders with your rocket launcher, and finally you are done. Now this seems like a lot of shit. It might even be overwhelming to some of you, but trust me, this chapter does it almost flawlessly. The museum is a really fun part where you go through some challenges to get to the generator that you have to destroy. In one of them, you literally have to parkour like you're a fucking assassin in Assassin's Creed and turn off the security settings. This shit was tense because my sensitivity was high, so I could easily trigger the sensors. The Striders aren't actually that hard to kill, but it's very satisfying when you watch them pummel to the floor like they're weightless. This chapter, top 3 out of all the chapters. It's just so much fun, and the action is incredible. For a late game chapter, it does a good job of feeling fresh, even though I've killed things for hours at this point. Now this chapter, Our Benefactors, is mostly a story chapter, as you're in this coffin thing that takes you around the place and gives you some lore clues. But the gameplay part of this place is awesome. All your guns get taken away, but only one stays, the gravity gun. Now it's blue and overpowered. You can now pick up the Combine soldiers like the ragdolls and throw them anywhere you want, including other Combine soldiers. The fact that we're getting this gun late game is just insane to me. However, not gonna lie, I do think it is a little too overpowered for its own good. I mean, you even get 300 health now instead of 200, so this game really buffed you up near the end. It's almost impossible to die or even get hurt. And now, guys, it's time for the final boss. The final boss is not as good as the first game. I don't even know if I can call it a final boss. It's just you spamming balls at Breen's teleporter so you can kill the fucking dude and destroy the teleporter. The boss is a giant disappointment compared to the fetus from the first game, so I got nothing more to say about it. We are finally at the end where I gotta give this game a rating from a scale of 1 to 10. Now, what do I give this game? Well, guys, I'm happy to say that this game deserves a big fat 9 out of 10. This game is a fucking improvement in literally every single form compared to the first game. The graphics are wonderful. The physics feel as close to a normal human as possible. The story is actually a fucking story that gropes you with loss and war. The characters aren't boring cardboard pieces. The enemies are unique. The locations are unique. The game isn't ridiculously hard at the end. And so much more. This game is a treasure. It does everything that a sequel is supposed to do, and it does even more than that. It's an achievement in gaming history that's way ahead of its time. I mean, 2004? Any other PC game that tried to rival this game in 2004? It was just completely thrown out of the goddamn water. This game is a marvel to behold, and I say, try it. Please, for the love of God, just try it. You don't need to play the first game to understand this one. Just play it, man. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Half-Life 2. So if you guys did enjoy it, like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next review, which is gonna be Half-Life 2 Episode 1. Confusing title, but hopefully it's as good as this game. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.